Okay. Hello everybody, I'm George from Ireland. So here I am cruising on the River Nile in the middle of Cairo. And in case you didn't know, it's the capital of Egypt. So there is the Four Seasons Hotel, one of the tallest buildings in the city. And what a magnificent view it commands over this storied river. It's liquid history, as someone once said of the Thames. And look at this one, a yacht, as in a yacht. Oh God, I mustn't get the ropes tangled up in my legs, because this is going by wind power. All right, it's eco-friendly. So, you know, Greta Thunberg, don't give me a hard time. We're going by wind power. It doesn't really get more renewable than that. Anyway, the shades of night are falling down, and as evening is drawing on, it's getting a trifle chilly, which is why I put on my jacket. Anyway, that way is north towards the Mediterranean Sea, and we're sailing from the Cairo bank to the Giza bank as we're going from east to west. So the sun goes down, and the west, and the ancient Egyptians associated that with death. That's where they buried all the pharaohs over there. The east, well, that's where their sunrise is, and so as that's the side of dawn, that's birth and life. But anyway, the dead pharaohs had to go with the dying sun through that night journey to be somehow resurrected. I wonder if their suspicions were ever aroused by the fact that none of the pharaohs were ever resurrected, of thousands of years of burying them very carefully, removing their organs, you know, performing this embalming, removing the cerebrum through the snout, and treating the remaining cadaver with various spices, drying it for 30 days. I don't know how they managed to preserve it didn't rot away in the heat of Egypt, even with this treatment, but they clearly knew what they were doing. Look at that, the Sofitel Hotel. And my last sojourn here, this white tower, where is it? Yeah, there. That is the Sheraton, big S, you probably can't make out. And I stayed there when I was 7. And it would have been extremely tall by the standards of the time. But the population of the city has more than tripled since I was here. So the Nile, Nile is in Arabic. That is the longest river in the world by some standards. I know a real geographer said actually it's the Amazon. So it rises at Lake Victoria. For centuries, Occidental explorers were baffled where is the source of the Nile, until finally was it Henry Morton Stanley found out that you know, comprehensively proved that that's it. Of course, there's the Blue Nile coming from the mountains of Ethiopia, and the White Nile from Lake Victoria, as in where Uganda is, named after the Great White Queen. The two Niles, they join at Khartoum, as in the capital of Sudan, meaning trunk, like elephant's trunk in Arabiya. And so the two Niles meet, and in Arabic poesy it's known as the longest kiss in history, Buz, until it sails out into the Mediterranean Sea, which is yonder. And there you can see one of the several bridges across the mighty River Nile. So obviously had inundations for many years. They built that Aswan High Dam in the 1960s to prevent this flooding. Good and bad, but not so much silt was coming up, more hydroelectricity. It's because Western countries wouldn't bankroll this project. They thought it was harebrained. That's one of the reasons that Gamal Abdel Nasser got the hump with the West, and then the Suez crisis occurred, and we all know the rest. So Manu's still revered here, honoured with metro stations named after him. His image is almost omnipresent. Okay, and there's their music, somewhat melodic. You know, sometimes it can seem trifle cacophonic to me. I've even been asked if I'm Egyptian. Well, my Arabic's that good. But at night, when there are some very pale-skinned Egyptians, I've never seen one with blue eyes though. Even asked, oh, is Saudi Arabian? But the guy must have been taking the mic. I met one Syrian here. So far as I know, I didn't meet any non-Egyptian Arabs here. You know, Egyptians can be very pale, very black, anything in between. So you can't really say what a typical Egyptian is supposed to look like. And there's this debate about the ancient Egyptians. How black were they? How black is black? Because some people say, oh, well, these North Africans from Egypt to Morocco, really they're not. They're a separate Mediterranean people. They're not really Africans. It's just debatable. I met Algerians are very pale indeed, but indigenous Algerians, whatever that is. And this thing here, I wonder what this curious platform here is. Does it spurt up as a fountain or what? I'm unsure. It looks like there's some lights on it. Can people actually get onto it? I mean, it's obviously man-made. I'm surprised they don't use it more as a means of practical transport and not just for these leisure cruises, because the roads are so clogged. Something coming along in the national colours, the little police speedboat. Well, I dare not film it because they're very chary about you filming the police. The police are everywhere. The only place that's seen this many police officers is Russia. But I haven't seen a single female police officer. Quite extraordinary. So I could have gone to Al-Azhar Mosque. So it's been very enjoyable, Soj, and I've just found that I've seen so much in this trip. One of my few regrets is I didn't allow sufficient time for the pyramids. So about 100 Egyptian pounds to get into the whole complex. You can walk around as much as you like, and I think about 200 pounds to get into the middle-sized pyramid. I don't know what it is to get to the large pyramid. The large pyramid's got nothing in it. Having said that, the middle-sized pyramid, yes, it's got a sarcophagus, but that's it. All the other artifacts have been removed to the Egyptian Museum, the British Museum, and elsewhere. The small pyramid you can't get into. So I should have gone longer. I was slightly rushing. I was also a bit hungry. So have a good lunch, go in there, and I spent under 2 hours. I would like to spend a good 3 hours, circumambulate each of the 3 pyramids. They're actually 8-sided, not 4-sided, because each so-called side is slightly bent in the middle. And they're, but for a few millimeters at the perfect square. Well, I say that, no, that's, you know, the bend in the middle. They're just a few millimeters off, trying to make them all the same length, all the sides. What else? So I remember the first time when I went up, and it was very musty. It was quite malodorous up there. There was a little Egyptian girl in a party frock in front of me, and I thought, is it emanating from her? But I think just there was poorer air circulation. But I didn't have to stoop so much when I was 7, and this time I was really hunkered down. They don't warn you just how low that passageway is going to be, but mercifully, you don't have to duck down. It's a bit of for very long, but I'm a bit of a claustrophobe. If you're a claustrophile, it'll suit you down to the ground and lower. There's electric current. When I was going in there when I was little, they were all saying the current may fail. I was terrified it's going to happen. I noticed there's these lockable doors on the entrance to the pyramid, and I thought, are they going to lock us in over the night? And then the pharaohs can exact their vengeance upon people who dared to rob their tombs. So yeah, there are no hieroglyphs on the walls there. If you go to the Valley of the Kings, further down the Nile, you'll see a lot more hieroglyphics in southern Egypt. Yeah, so Giza is all that side. A bit of it is an island. Oh yeah, yeah, there she goes. You can't really make out the water, but it's spurting up. That is a fountain. You see where that huge tower is? Yeah. That was an island. And also in this side is El Manial Island. A bit of it is it the old Ramada Hotel? This white bit is the new one, and a bit further there is an old one, and then there's another hotel, the Four Seasons Beyond. So providing you with a magnificent panorama over Cairo. And there's a bit of a haze because there's just so much smog, the fumes from traffic, because so many people have got cars these days, it's become much more affordable for them. So what a thronging metropolis it is. And then New Cairo is being built a bit to the east of the city, and it's really just expanding the conurbation rather than setting up a new city. But I thought it'd be good to really move away because the city is so overcrowded. And look at that, some real greenery. There's very little green space here. So you can imagine Moses in his Moses basket being hidden here from the vengeful pharaoh in ancient times. There are not many tourists here, and actually there's not been that much hard sell from hawkers with souvenirs or people trying to get you on boat rides or horse rides. So I was duped into getting a caleche up to the pyramid, saying, oh, it's 4 kilometers from the gate and you're not allowed to walk, that's the law. But I saw many foreign tourists who were walking. Egyptians pay a lower price to get in, fair enough. But I should have done my homework, found out about the scams, arrived in plenty of time, arrived on a full stomach, and I could spend hours enjoying all those pyramids, seeing the 6 smaller ones, seeing the mastabas, the other tombs, the workers' village. You know, the Sphinx, you can't get that close to it. And there are some Djoser's pyramid, which is about 20 kilometers south of there. You can even go by camel or horse for 3 hours to get to it. Now, well, that's enough for me here on the River Nile in Cairo. So highly recommended, but it's not for the faint-hearted, this city, it's got to be said. All right, toodaloo.